All right, folks, welcome back to Mike and Maurice's Mind Escape. We have episode number 35 today. We are going to talk about Gobekli Tepe in Turkey.
Welcome back. Little
um,
hiatus.
yeah, a little break ski. We went on a pretty fun camping trip. Um,
Hogar.
we go every year. It's a nice way to release some steam and get out in nature and reconnect to yourself. So that was pretty fun.
It's like our own
Gobekli
neglect.
Tepe.
Oh, love it. I can't pronounce shit, man. I'm
We
so
should we gotta build a megalithic structure in that site that
we
we always go
should.
to. Build a fucking wall around the whole thing.
Yeah, so then when we die that the fucking Hogars will be remembered, man. It's at,
Be
you
like,
know
what
where it's
happened
at.
here? There was a horse massacre here.
There's just a smoldering crater.
Um, so Gobekli Tepe is a site in Turkey. Um, in the early 60s, actually, the University of Chicago had found it, but they didn't excavate and they didn't realize what they had found. They found like the top part of one of the T pillars, and
So
never
this thing's
really,
pretty new.
yeah, and they never really looked into it. And then Klaus Schmidt, who is a German archaeologist, came on the scene and he kind of took over the whole thing. I think he came out in the beginning of the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Um, let's see here.
Pull some shit up.
Yeah, pull some stuff up. Yeah, 1990. Oh, it was 1994 when Klaus Schmidt took over, and he died a few years back. In Fingerprints of the Gods, Graham Hancock talks a lot about it, and I guess they were kind of working on some stuff together, and they butted heads on some stuff, but there was some stuff that they kind of collaborated on. In terms of how old it is, it's said to be between 10,000 and 8,000 BC, so that's over 12,000 years ago. I think a more exact speculation is like 9600 BC, somewhere around there.
All right.
Um, the mainstream archaeologist theory on it is that they were hunter gatherers that kind of came together and created this thing, which would be the greatest feat of the hunter gatherer era, because they weren't really known to do that kind of stuff. That hence how they're hunter and gatherer. They were constantly moving, they were nomads basically.
Yeah.
Um, and for that matter, our earliest to date knowledge of like animal husbandry and agriculture and that kind of stuff was ancient Sumer or Mesopotamia. And there you're looking at like 5,000, 5,000 BC, 4,000 BC, somewhere along those lines. And that was a little bit older than ancient Egypt. And then ancient Egypt came along. But so this kind of sets everything way back, because now we're saying 9,600 BC. That's almost, I mean, that's, if you think about it, that's like 3 Egypts ago, which is
So
crazy.
is Graham Hancock saying that these people weren't hunter gatherers?
Well, yeah, there's speculation. They could. He is not ruling. That's the thing, is people get pissed at him and like, oh, you're pseudoscience or whatever. But he's just speculating and he's using evidence and
Right.
going to all these sites, and he's actually putting feet on the ground. Lots of people like to play home detective, but this guy's actually going to the places and doing the research and kind of connecting dots. But
So what's so special about this place? I'm looking at it. I mean, it looks
here, I'll
pretty
pull up some
intricate, but
picture.
it's no pyramids in my eyes.
Well, you got to realize that the pyramids, according to mainstream, are 2,500 BC.
Well, fuck that shit.
This is 8,000 years older than that, or
Right.
7,000 years older than that. That's why, that's fucking
Yeah, no,
crazy.
I hear you. I'm just saying, aren't people they're starting to speculate that Egypt might have been
Well,
4,000,
yeah, yeah, but
6,000,
I mean,
8,000?
again, that's speculation.
Right, right.
There's more evidence to point to the mainstream than there is that. The only thing is like the astronomical alignments, and because you can't radiocarbon date rock, so they're just going by everything that was found around it and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it could be way older. Nobody's. That's the thing about archaeology, is there's no way to put yourself in their mindset. It's so long
Right.
ago, so they're just speculating. We've evolved so much since then, so we're applying what we know to their lives when they had a whole different mindset and lifestyle. So
Right, right.
Here, let's pull this up. I'm gonna pull a picture up here of
So it looks like it's a bunch of statues.
well, yeah, they're T pillars. Here, I'm gonna pull this up
Oh yeah,
here.
yeah.
Okay, so this is recently they just started putting the scaffolding, and now they're scaffolding around this part too.
Okay.
Apparently, they're trying to protect it from weathering and like grave robber or thieves, like that kind of stuff.
How the fuck did this guy find this thing?
So he okay, so the story is it's Gobekli Tepe means pot belly hill.
Pot bellies.
And a farmer was kind of just out doing his thing and he stumbled across something sticking out of the ground, and what it was see how there's these pillars where it's like
Yeah.
this and then this T shape. Well, one
Right.
of these T shapes was sticking out of the ground, and then like I said, University of Chicago in the 60s they came out, but they didn't really do anything with it. They kind of overlooked it, which is a huge fucking mistake in my book. And then Klaus Schmidt came back in 1994 and really started doing all the excavation. Now, only or less than 5% of it's been excavated, which is fucking crazy. If you think about it, this thing goes so deep and there's so many of these concentric circles with all these little offshoot things that, it's going to take a while to do the whole thing.
Right, right.
Um,
Sure, we'll break a bunch of shit in the process.
Right. So, and they just put like walkways down. People are pissed that they put sidewalks in and stuff, but it just, that it makes it easier for.
Yeah, you got to get to it.
Right. But I could see both sides of it. It's like you're fucking with this. They made it a UNESCO site, which is a World Heritage site, which is good to protect it.
Right. They gotta
So,
dig it. They gotta dig it out though. Like, what are they gonna do? Just leave it in the ground? You leave it in the ground, and you'll never see it.
well, I guess I read Klaus Schmidt. The reason why he didn't excavate it quicker or get deeper into it was that he wanted to slowly do it so that in the hopes that the next generation would have better technology where they could do more stuff with it and be more precise and use what we've learned since then to kind of figure it out. So, um, but so there's a couple things I want to talk about though, two correlations. And some people say a lot of this stuff pseudoscience, but I think that there's some clear evidence that this is so old that there might have been different races involved here, meaning like people aboriginals or African or other cultures involved with it than just whoever was living in Turkey at the time.
Are they finding like universal symbols on some of
Well, so here I'll pull this up. This is something interesting that I found recently. And I told you about this too on like our first or second episode, the Aboriginal connection. I'm going to pull up this picture here.
Well, the one stone looks like it has some kind of alligator or something on it.
Right.
In the middle here, I'm looking at.
Okay, so look at this. What do look at this right here?
Yeah.
And then look at that. I mean, is that not the same thing?
Yeah, that's pretty fucking
half
crazy.
circle line in the middle, and they're bubbly like that too. They're similar in that sense. So it's
what
like,
does that symbol mean?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Come on, bro. You better fucking research, man.
I mean, I can only do so much research. Plus, the other thing is like if you talk about this kind of stuff with anybody that actually knows anything, they think you're a fucking idiot, which is stupid because I think the devil's in the details, and if you're not looking at all the details or at least entertaining all ideas, then you're just a fucking idiot yourself. So,
so the stone on the left is Gobekli Tepe. The thing on
is
the right is from Africa.
Yeah, this is one of the T pillars at Gobekli Tepe. This is an ancient or an Aboriginal person with that painted on his chest. And I guess actually I do know what this means. Now that you say that, I forgot. This means two people sitting down across from each other having like a conversation is what I read. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I remember. What it meant was like kind of like what we're doing now, or what we do on this podcast.
That's a great symbol for the podcast, bro.
that would yeah, that's not a bad idea. But yeah, so that's kind of where I was going with that. So it's like there was at that time there was a land ridge, like before the all the flooding after the Younger Dryas and everything. We talked about this on the Ancient Civilization episode that we did, where Australia was connected to Indonesia, and there was more landmass in that area before all the flooding and everything after the last glacial maximum, and then the Younger Dryas. So when the water started to rise, that land bridge, which was called Sunda Land, which connected Australia to to Indonesia, obviously went underwater, and then there was one also connecting Great Britain to the rest of Europe, which that one was called Dodger Land.
Hmm.
So I find that pretty interesting. There was some other stuff I wanted to pull up here. Okay, let me see here.
So what's your main point with all this though? People were traveling further than we
I
thought.
think so. Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, look, and Australia could have been fucked up at that time, or there could have been some reason why they couldn't stay there, or maybe it was too fucking hot, maybe it was too fucking cold, maybe there was more water there than whatever. So I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Like I said, yeah, you could say, oh, well, these people are just drawing symbols. Of course, something's going to line up, but I don't really think that's true. I hate when people and archaeologists say that, especially about stuff like commonalities, between pyramids and different cultures. Oh, that's just what people were doing then. That was the evolution. I don't really buy that fully. I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. I just think that that's short-sighted just to assume that that's the answer and then move on. But
Right. Well, if you take it in today's concept, like if you see McDonald's or Apple, that's a universal symbol. So
right. Okay, so this is what's called the Vulture Pillar. This is one of the most important ones. So what you have here, you see these handbags looking things up here at the top. Those
yeah.
are I've looked that up. That's an interesting thing, and it's interesting because people are looking up. They're called ancient handbags. It could be anything. I've speculated. Could it have been a basket to carry seeds in? Could it have been a basket to carry hallucinogenic drugs in? Could it have been how they
Man.
just traveled? Because like think about it, they probably didn't have pockets back then. So did they carry some sort of bag around? What could that be? That could be anything.
It's Michael Kors.
So it was so it was obviously important to them to put that there. And then this stuff, these are correlations to different, the scorpions, the Scorpio, different constellations and stuff. This is the vulture. Some people say that this has to do with something like an asteroid or a comet maybe coming down. And maybe that's why they built this, for some sort of remembrance of some sort of destruction or the flooding, or like we've talked about all that kind of stuff too. Like, what caused the Younger Dryas? Was it a comet impact or an asteroid impact, or was it just slowly, or possibly even a quick melting of the glaciers? So
Yeah.
so there's speculation on that, but this handbag thing got me really interested, and I started looking into it. And then here, I'm gonna blow your mind here for a second. Let me pull something else up.
Blow away.
Where's that other picture? Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay.
But does any of this shit connect to Egypt?
Watch.
Yeah.
Okay, so that thing I just pointed out? We got it here on that pillar. This is ancient Sumer. Same thing.
Yeah.
And then this is Mayan. And then the other thing too is look, this is guys in some sort of like machine thing. I'm sure see, that's why it's tough to talk about. It's like this could be just something day to day, very plausible, like a basket or something. And then there's speculation on ancient aliens. It could be this, it could be that, it could be ancient technology or whatever. Obviously, this guy looks like he's in a contraption with a serpent around him. There's ones with serpents around him, and other things in ancient Egypt. And here,
Are all three of those things from the same time, or
no? So this is Gobekli Tepe. We talked about how the old Ed is. That's 8 to 10,000 BC. Ancient Sumer is like 4,000 to 3,000 BC, and then even bleeds into a little bit ancient Egyptian time. Ancient Mayans like 1600 BC, I think, until they went on for a while, a little bit after AD too. So let me pull up something else here.
Well, the bag isn't too uncommon though, like you were saying.
Yeah, but why are they for you to carve something? We talked about this too. For you to carve something, it must have been important, right? Like it must have. You're carving something into something that you're going out of your way to build, that nobody's ever built it before in your civilization. You're obviously spending tons of time on this. Like, so what's the deal there? You know, like
Well,
what's
you
the
don't think we would chisel a fucking Kardashian ass out of stone?
will we?
Maybe
We might.
well, maybe they just like possessions like us. They love those fucking handbags.
Okay, but even if that's the case, why are they
Oh,
across the whole?
bullshitty.
How do they all know about each other? I mean, I could see, hypothetically, Gobekli Tepe is in Turkey. That's not far from Mesopotamia. It's part of where Mesopotamia was, so that's not uncommon. But that's still like 4 or 5 thousand years apart. And then
Mhm.
you've got, I mean, think about 4 or 5 thousand years ago now. That's even before the beginning, the building of the pyramid. So, what did you know about that happened before that? You know, like how would they have known?
Right.
So, um, there's this one too, which I'm going to pull up here in a second.
Yeah, I guess they gotta put some serious effort into fucking to include it into
Well,
something.
then the other thing is I get in these debates on Reddit and stuff. I was legitimately like, I was telling people what I know about Gobekli Tepe, but it's like, there's a lot of people that don't know shit. And even the archaeologists that kind of know stuff are afraid to say something and they don't fucking know either. And the ones that get adamant about it, it's like they can't even provide tangible proof. I was asking people, like, show me proof this handbag is just something basic. So look at this. These dudes and these things with this thing. This dude's got his mouth hooked up to this thing. This, ancient Egypt. This thing.
Well, people are listening to this, dude. This dude's inside this thing of this thing.
Okay, so yeah, describe. I guess I didn't even think about the people that aren't going to watch this video on YouTube. You're listening on SoundCloud or Stitcher or one of those. Um, in ancient, the Aztecs had this contraption similar to the Mayan glyph where the snakes wrapped around his whole body. It almost looks like he's in like a spaceship, and he's got his mouth connected to this apparatus. The Egyptian one, there's this huge serpent wrapped around a pharaoh who's sitting down, similar to the other pictures. And then there's a Maori, New Zealand one, same thing, guys sitting down on a contraption.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
cool.
they're all pretty similar. So, like I said, I mean, the mainstream is just going to say, "Oh, well, this is what people were doing, or this is what people were thinking about during that times." But it's like, what are the odds that these people from different cultures are thinking about the same stuff and have no contact with each other? And I'm not even saying it has to be some like metaphysical thing or aliens or anything like that. I'm just saying maybe they were getting around and they met with each other. Maybe there was some sort of ancient way of traveling that, on boat or whatever that we just, you know,
Well,
are over.
that's interesting to think putting it into our time. Like if we had to draw four things that would sum up our existence, what would they be? You know.
Right.
So who the fuck knows? That handbag. It's got to mean something more.
Right. And then I'm going to pull this up right now. This was just a little bit more evidence about the Aboriginal connection that I was talking about earlier. So this is what's called a Taringa Stone. This was found not that far from Gobekli Tepe. And there's other sites too, similar to Gobekli Tepe, not in terms of like its grandeur or anything, but there are other, pre,
That's
modern
some old
civilization.
fucking shit right there.
So to find this, which is Aboriginal art near where I just made the correlation to the T pillar, kind of a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then so yeah, that was. I'm not saying Aboriginals built it, but maybe that was maybe Gobekli Tepe was like a center where like all the people from different areas came together to build something together, or maybe it was some sort of temple where all the civilizations that were in the area came together after a disaster, and that was the regrouping of society. And because we know, I mean, 70,000 years ago, Lake Toba in Indonesia blew up, and there was only like, I want to say, I don't know the numbers, but like around 10,000 people were left on Earth. After, like millions were wiped out and almost killed everybody. So,
Well, look at it like this, man. We've been studying the pyramids and we have a lot of that already uncovered. So this shit isn't even uncovered.
right. It's less than 5%.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna flip flop a million times where it's like it's gonna be this thing, and then it was built by
Right.
slaves, and no, they weren't, and you
Here, I'm
know,
going to bring up your favorite thing right now.
oh, what's that?
You know. You know. So this is the totem pole from Gobekli Tepe.
Oh
So
yeah,
there's a
called chip face.
there was a face right here, which has obviously been annihilated. And then this is supposed to be like a mother or something, you know, a father, whatever. And then this is the baby. I don't know if you can see it kind of. So this is like a
Yeah.
totem pole that was found in an area, which is, you know, I think that's interesting too. I mean, when you think totem pole, you think Native American or maybe even Aboriginal type stuff, but you know, to find it there, I think it's interesting. And then what you can't see on the side here is there's a serpent, you know, on that side, which is a symbol for fertility. On Ancient Aliens, they get a little crazy. They say this top thing was an alien, which gave birth to mankind, which gives birth to modern mankind, or possibly
They,
like a monkey and then man and then baby.
what's their
On
take on ancient aliens? This thing's alien built?
I mean, they always ancient aliens speculate. Yes,
Yeah.
no. I mean, I don't know. I don't honestly know what the mainstream thought is on that. I haven't seen anything about it. See, that this is the thing about Gobekli Tepe is since it's not fully been excavated, there's not really a lot of information that's not kind of fringe. You know, it's all speculation at this point. So, I mean, like I said, I'm open minded. If somebody comes along and says, "Hey, this is what this means," or um, "Hey, this is what this really is," or whatever, I'm open minded. You know, I've been recently reading. The great courses on ancient Egypt, which is these books of academics and stuff. And this guy Bob Breer, who knows a lot about ancient Egypt, he does a good job of explaining stuff. So stuff I thought was fringe before that I learned, I was able to take away from it. Like a lot of stuff that I felt like borderline could be weird. It made sense when you have more information, to understand it. So, and there's still weird things. Don't get me wrong, but
Well, I'm
I
just saying
think
you're in the mindset that there's something magical about this place, that there's something deeper within.
well, I'm not saying deeper in terms of metaphysical. I'm saying deeper in terms of I don't there's no reason for hunter gatherers to get together just to build that for no reason, you know.
Right.
It's huge. It would take a huge amount of work. We've talked about it too on other episodes how it's not that they just carved into the rock, it's that they carved the rock away to create these 3D animal images. There's crocodiles, there's foxes, there's flamingos, there's vultures, there's even species that aren't even indigenous to that part. So
Hmm.
or at least what we know, like there could have been, I guess, those animals living in that region then. But um so yeah, I mean that's just my whole little spiel on it. I think like I said, there's a lot of speculation in Fingerprints of the Gods. Anybody that hasn't read that, that's a good book. Even I don't know, because even the guy, that Klaus Schmidt guy, wasn't so completely sold on the fact that they were hunter gatherers either. Like the whole premise of like the Graham Hancock stuff and the Randall Carlson and all that is that there was this pre-Diluvian society or these ancient societies that got wiped off the map. So like there's speculation that those handbags represent knowledge or ancient knowledge, or like I said, it could be like some psychedelic which provides knowledge, or so that's kind of their take on it. I guess my take on it would be, like I said, I thought about it. Are these just bags that these people are like, they're travelers? Does that represent them as travelers? Like that could be an explanation.
Yeah, that's weird. You don't really picture them packing up luggage and heading.
Right. I
Maybe
mean,
they did.
and there's evidence of possible animal husbandry and our agriculture, which we know didn't start till 5,000 years later than that. So um,
Yeah, I think that whole timeline's a bit skewed.
and hypothetically, it's only 5% excavated. What if they get down there and they're like, oh, this thing's gets older is the lower you go down? Or what if there's different layers to it, and we know that there's different sites all over the world where um, civilizations have been, like famous megalithic sites and stuff like that, have been built over. So they'll build something over it. You even see with the pyramid. The pyramid was built on top of a base that was supposed to be a pyramid that fell apart. So um
How
the
long
great
do they think it's gonna take to fucking uncover all that?
I don't know. Like I said, the reason why he didn't get crazy with the excavation was that they wanted to do it slowly and make sure they're doing it right. And then also
Well, how
with
long did
with
5%
time,
take?
I mean, since 1994.
Yeah, so let's do the math. Uh,
But
no.
the shocking thing is you didn't even really hear about it until recently. You know, like people want to shit on. Okay, so like 90% of Ancient Aliens is bullshit, but there's like a 10% where you
Yeah,
are
but you
actually.
keep bringing it up, bro. You keep bringing
Well,
it
okay,
up.
yeah, well, because I'll say this: it's a catalyst for people to learn about shit. People don't know about any, like I talk about Gobekli Tepe, even with people that are familiar with consciousness studies and different things, and it's like I know those two things aren't really related, but they kind of are. You know, it's an understanding of yourself and the ancient civilizations and esoteric
Mhm.
knowledge and stuff. Um, it's interesting that I think what Ancient Aliens does is bring some of these topics to light where people then do talk about them. Now, is the show itself bullshit? Yeah, they do have credible people on there and they do have people talk about credible things, but then you'll get your boyfriend David Wilcock on there and
Uh,
this guy just destroys the credibility instantly with his fucking bullshit. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, I think I keep bringing it up because I think like I said, it's a catalyst for people to even just learn. Like, okay, so when did Ancient Aliens is in like 15th season? Early on, yeah. Did I watch it? It
Jesus.
was It's interesting. It's very interesting. It's thought provoking. And what it did for me was at least I had already known a lot about ancient Egypt and the pyramids and stuff like that, but it kind of reawoke my interest in it. And then by looking into it, you learn about the truth and not just the alien bullshit. So
Yeah.
I think something good can come out of it. And I think there is a movement of people that are kind of walking that tightrope. Yeah, let's not say it was just basic living back then, but there could have been some greater knowledge, but let's not get crazy and say that aliens came down and built it or aliens, used magic to help us or whatever they're saying. So
Right. Yeah. Doesn't seem like any of the shit they say pans out, but I don't
no,
watch the show.
no, yeah. I like I said, I find it interesting. It's entertaining,
No,
like
I get what you're saying.
I
Yeah,
know it's bullshit. It's like watching wrestling. It's bullshit, but it's entertaining,
right.
or watching TV, like shows are scripted, but it's still entertaining. Like I said, once in a while I'll see something cool. And we've on this podcast have delved into religions and ancient things like that, and they have good episodes. They'll
Oh,
have
if
stuff.
anything, we promoted the piss out of this fucking show. You talk
Well,
about it every episode.
the thing is like there's a Leonardo da Vinci episode, and there's some good ass stuff on that episode. Like, if anybody that doesn't know about Leonardo da Vinci, you would learn a lot just from watching that episode. Now, they talk about when he goes into the cave and disappears for a couple years. That's true. But then they're saying that he
Yeah,
met
but they
with an
jumped to
alien in
that
there and he gave him the knowledge. That's the
conclusion.
line right there. That's when you say, okay, that this is the fake part of it, but everything leading up to that point was, interesting.
Right, but you don't have to watch that to learn about Leonardo da Vinci.
No, not at all. I'm just saying, if people watch the History Channel, people are flipping through the channels and they just see something on that might pique their interest to at least look into it. And by looking into it, if you even have somewhat of a brain, you'll, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
keep watching it, bro. No,
hey man, I've said it before, there's a little truth in everything. So I mean, if I get 5 to 10% out of it, of stuff that, even a cool idea, and then I look into it and it just adds to my own knowledge and debunks shit, then I'll do that. And to anybody watching this, if you think Ancient Aliens is bullshit, which it is, go on to YouTube. There's a video called Ancient Aliens Debunked. It's like 4 hour, 3.5, 4 hours long. It's like a documentary, and they literally go through and debunk a lot of stuff. There's some stuff that they can't debunk. Obviously, we still don't know exactly how the ancient pyramids or the Great Pyramid was built, and there's certain things. But then you'll find out Puma Punku could have been built and why it was could have been built, and Machu Picchu and all that kind of stuff. So you know there are things out there debunking these things. So I urge people to kind of look at both sides of things and take what they want from it. But you know,
does Gobekli Tepe have any coordinates that sync up with stars at all, or
that's a good question. I haven't looked into any astronomical connections. There might be, like I said, there was that scorpion on there. There's certain that that could align with Scorpio. And there's different things. I haven't looked enough into that aspect of it because obviously they haven't done too much work on it in general. So I think their last, like for instance, we had all sorts of theories on ancient Egypt. Well, it wasn't for the last 20, 30 years where people started speculating on the alignment to the stars, so um there's that.
Yeah. Well, they better get fucking going on it.
We'll just send you in there with a hard hat and a clipboard, and you can just start getting on people.
I just start
And
breaking stone wherever I'm at.
get back to fucking work, and I'm gonna bash this totem pole completely apart.
Enough with the brushes. Here's a hammer.
Yeah, the brush
Start
thing. I
chipping
mean,
away.
you would think they'd get some like air compressor or something to just like blow the air away, But
Yeah, that might crumble the stone to dust. What kind of stone is this? Limestone?
yeah, I think it's limestone. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what based on what I've shown you, and do you have any interesting thoughts like on what it could be, or do you think that's, like the thing is people on Reddit, I was, going back and forth with a lot of people, and they're saying, oh, there's this place called Poverty Point in Louisiana that Native Americans where they did some cultivating of the land and changing of the land, kind of like this site, but that was 1600 BC. We're talking about fucking 8 to 10,000 BC, which I keep bringing up because it's fucking important. The timeline, this is the first real thing that we found that dates back that far.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't really know. They haven't discovered enough of it to. If it was like lining up with stars
Well,
and
the other thing, it was built, it was buried intentionally. So the only reason why we have this thing is because it was intentionally like, you know, buried. Then that brings up a greater point. Who buried it? Did these people bury it as like some sort of time capsule? Was it buried in terms of maybe it was an ancient religion or something that people then didn't believe in anymore, something like that? There's a weird theory going around. I've seen it actually on some credible stuff too, that it was a skull cult and they found skulls there, human bones and stuff. So they're saying that some sort of like skull or blood worship kind of stuff there. So I don't buy into that, but that's just one of the other theories.
yeah, I think it being a religious area is a pretty decent theory because think of all the churches we have.
Right.
We just have, we just use shittier materials.
Right. Right.
They'd all go bye bye, and as time goes on, you can't
Right.
buy a fucking like vents for your house now. They're all made out of all shitty metal. So even over the past 50 years, the quality of building materials has just went down, down, down.
Right.
Where's that limestone?
Yeah.
Where's that good shit?
Well, it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like as much as we're basing everything we know off of everything we know. And then even the people
Yeah.
that are good archaeologists, they're still basing it on stuff, preconceived notions, and just the thought, putting yourself in the thought that we're so much more advanced than them. That's, I think, what makes it so difficult. You literally have to treat these people as if they're intelligent people, I think, too, to kind of look into like what they were doing at their time, like maybe it isn't as advanced, but if you're not treating it like that, I don't think that you're going to get the answers that you're looking for, in my
Well, a
opinion.
lot of that stuff seems to be religious based, and that's just so poo-pooed in today's society.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if it's religious based, it must not be science based. So get that out of here. That's not going to be a plausible theory in any way. So
Right. Well, their hunter-gatherer theory is that it's a collection of hunter-gatherers that came from like a 250-mile radius of that area to come together, and they found arrowhead or like flint stones, like for different, carving and that kind of stuff. So that's one of the speculations, that they were just hunter-gatherers that kind of came from a 200-300-mile radius out and then came together to build it. So I mean, who knows? But that's just that's kind of what they're saying now. So
yeah, we should write a movie about a bunch of cultures coming together at Gobekli Tepe to fucking
I mean, what
sacrifice.
wouldn't that be? I mean, that would be the only thing that we came together for ever. So that would be an interesting take on it.
Well, they
Like,
came together for the child sacrifice,
yeah, the
man.
skull cult. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the timeline thing is interesting because it's like once we can establish that this is older, these people were advanced enough to do this kind of stuff. What if we find one more site and then another site, and then now we're changing the whole timeline because it's like, oh, these people were fucking idiots 12,000 years ago. They were just cavemen or whatever, But now we're kind of seeing differently.
Yeah, it'll constantly be changing.
There's other stuff too in that area, like in Turkey, that are super old. one of the first religions is Zoroastrianism, and there's a like a story about this guy named Yima who is told by God in Zoroastrianism is like good versus dark, or like light versus dark, or like good versus evil. It was like the first thing that was kind of like that, with opposition. And then God told Yima to build a Vara. A Vara is something that's underground with very specific instructions on how to survive some sort of cataclysm. So I'm going to pull up something here to show you a site that they found. Let's see here.
This is right by go back lay.
Go back. Yeah, I mean, not that far. Turkey, I mean, it's big. It's not that big, though. Let me see here. All right, this is Darren Kuya. You can look it up. It's a site
Yeah,
in
that's
the air.
badass.
And this is what, is going on underneath. So this is what I was talking about. So
That shit's incredible.
you could fit up to 20,000 people under there. In there, it was 250 feet down into the earth. So it was like a city underneath. So like
They got sheep in there and shit.
in the story of Yima with the Vara, though, it's not. It's some sort of winter, and you're in Turkey, so you got to think about, well, what were they describing? Is it, after the Younger Dryas, I think there's some sort of common impact. Was there something that created some sort of like fallout winter, or just a change in weather pattern, or climate change or whatever? So, and even some of these things are airtight. So, I mean, it could have been water, I guess, too. But in the story, it talks about, cold and winter, and then just generations of people living under there, and then kind of coming out of it and restarting civilization. So
It's crazy.
but yeah, I mean, you look at all those kinds of stories, and they're crazy. As crazy as people think religion is, we've talked about this. We wouldn't be here for religion if it wasn't for the 10 Commandments and Hammurabi's Code and all these different things saying thou shalt not kill and don't steal and don't cheat with your neighbor's wife. And these are all things to prevent people from killing each other. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. Back then, it's like, don't steal because somebody might kill you. Don't sleep with somebody's wife because they might kill you. Don't do this because they'll kill you. So it all comes down to building populations up, which we've done, and now we're at a point
now it's
where
time to reverse it.
Well, now we are at some sort of like breaking point where we are so good at staying alive and manipulating our surroundings and our environment that who knows what's going to happen. But
well, we need to start living like them. We need to start digging into the earth or building up. That's a pretty cool idea.
Well, we're polluting everything, which is a problem, and then the whole global warming thing, whether you want to believe it or not
real, man.
Whether global, you think global warming is man-made or not, the Earth is heating up. I mean, this summer alone, it's been fucking like 90 degrees every day. If I get in my car one more fucking time and get burned by my seatbelt, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind. So
calm down there, DiCaprio.
Yeah,
we get it, man. You were in Revenant. The Earth is fucking changing.
It is. It's the Earth's kind of like a living organism. Maybe it's trying to purge us off of it, like these little fucking gnats. Let's get these motherfuckers off this motherfucker.
Yeah, we are quite destructive, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know shit. We do and we don't. We just know based off our perception. That's what we were talking about when we were camping with Uncle John. Do you know about this book, Flatlands?
No.
By Edwin A. Abbott, and it talks about how, like, okay, so something one-dimensional is just lines, and then you can only see, instead of seeing depth, you can only see points on that line. Okay, so then when you go into 2D, 2D is like, think of like Mario Brothers, where it's just two-dimensional, and then we're in 3D now. So thinking about that, you can't see things that are if you're in 2D, you can only see part of what's in 3D. So maybe we're in 3D and we can't only see parts of 4D, and maybe there's a 5D, 6D, so it goes on and on and on and on. So our perception and our picture of what we're experiencing is not necessarily a full picture. So
I hope so, my man. I hope so.
Otherwise, we're just a bunch of fucking monkeys talking on this thing like idiots. In that case, we're all the same fucking thing. We are literally all the same babbling know-it-all thing that really doesn't know shit. So
Well, maybe there was an ancient fucking podcast that they broadcast from Egypt to all the other temples and shit, you
that
know?
would be awesome. We're coming live from the Great Pyramid. It's the stream shooting up into the
Johnny
sky.
Pharaoh, hey!
Tap into your Akashic record tonight and check in with our podcast.
What if they were quite witty? Because I always think back about the Egypts. I see these stern motherfuckers. Like, these guys are very. There's no joking around with these dudes. What if they were a bunch of just good old fashioned dudes and
Yeah, I
girls
mean that could be a possibility too. I mean, look,
sucking
uh,
down wine and.
there's a reason I think that people are drawn to like the mystery, of life, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's people, like scientists and all, oh, it's an error, it's just a flaw. No, we have like a calling within us to figure shit out, and everybody always thinks there's more to the picture, and the people that don't are fucking depressing as fuck. Like, listen to some of these reductionist scientists talk. It's like, how does this guy not go home at the end of the night and just fucking kill himself? Like, that's how depressing
You
these
find
people.
hobbies and things to help you get through.
I know, but like, just I would
You
rather
have a family and things
I
like
would
that.
rather believe in some magical sky fairy than believe nothing at all, in the sense that at least there's hope. Like those people, I don't know.
Well,
And
some
and
people think that they got to, you have kids and stuff, and then you pass your genes on, and then you live forever through
and
them.
and that's great. That might be true. We might find something out in the future that we are all just the same thing. Like maybe your bloodline of your genes is all the same thing manifesting itself through time or something. There could be a bunch of weird shit we don't even know about. So
Right.
I mean, look at all these reincarnation stories of these kids that know what happened to them in a previous life and know exact details of in warplanes and going down and like that.
Dude
Like,
was grown up from Mars, man.
what's up?
That dude from Mars, that kid.
There's a
Said he,
kid from Mars.
yeah, he's from Russia. He said he lived on Mars.
Oh, I saw that article. Yeah, that seemed kind of weird though. I don't
I
know.
don't know. Go ahead.
That one seemed kind of hoaxy, but there is a famous one. I forget who I was talking about. It even might have been your brother, but there's this kid. He's an American kid, and until he was the age of 7, he kept having these nightmares of getting shot down in the South Pacific in World War II. And it just so happened he knew the exact plane number, what part of the what air division, what number, all the schematics of the plane and all the different shit. He knew the guy's name to the point where the kid's dad found this guy's family, and they reconnected, and they're like, holy shit, how does this kid know all this stuff? So
Yeah.
there's another famous case. We'll talk about this on another episode because I think it's interesting. There's this woman named Dorothy Eady, who felt like she was a reincarnated priestess from early Egyptian dynasty. So she's the one that helped a lot of these archaeologists, British archaeologists, early on find a lot of these hidden temples and tombs and different things. She knew where they were, and she knew the old ways of like this was before Akhenaten brought monotheism. So there was obviously a multi-god platform back then, and that's what she felt like she was from and everything. So I think that's interesting. It's not even the fact that she felt like she was being reincarnated, but that she had no knowledge of Egyptology or archaeology, and she was able to help them find all these tombs and stuff. So
That'd be a sick episode if we could get one of those actual people on here.
yeah, that
And
would
start
be.
probing them with questions, man.
I know you can start probing them with other things too.
I can't. We're not in the same state, man.
Yeah.
It's always got to come back to the probe jokes with you, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Because you make those same jokes, you just make them off air.
That's a cool piece of art. Where'd you get that?
What?
It's
Oh,
hanging up here, right?
that was Amanda's, or is Amanda's. But yeah, I don't know. But there's this weird, like, look at this little creepy face thing up there.
Yeah, I see it. I think that is the Mothman.
Yeah, it is. He's trapped in the painting, dude, only to be released upon my command.
Is this Ghostbusters 2?
It's Ghostbusters poo is what it is. But all right,
let's end on that. Yeah,
let's wrap it up on that funny little note. We always got to get a couple in at the end, but we'll catch you guys next time. I don't know what we'll be doing, but it will be interesting.
Cheers.
So stay tuned. Peace.